You want to join the Tres Comas Club? Well, tonight we bring on a SWTOR multi-billionaire to pry some of his secrets out of him and teach us how to make 1 billion credits. That and more coming up on this episode of the Escape Podcast for Star Wars: The Old Republic. Our broadcast aspect today is EPC 331. And playing alongside me is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
It's going pretty well. But enough about me. No, I just want to say we did Vet Mode KP tonight on our ops team, and it's been a while since we did that Pillars of Hanoi puzzle on the robot boss. And that was really fun, actually, and we refigured it out, really fast. He did go too long and enrage on the first time, because that's what we were standing around going, wait a minute, push this? No, push that. But only one time, and then the next time it went smooth like butter. But it was a really fun run, and before that we did Deborah's Courtyard, and just a lot of conquest points, because this is a week that we want to rack up a lot of points, so that's why we did that. Mm-hmm. And I just have to say, too, in that droid fight, I do really love those stun droids. They're the best.
There's a lot of things you like favorite. About that. About that operation, isn't there? The whole no aggro table.
It's all eclipsed.
It's
all eclipsed by the first boss.
Yeah,
right?
Amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, but as I started to say, enough about me.
Yes.
Special guest tonight.
Also with us tonight, as I said, we have a multi-billionaire and master of costumes. In fact, so this is Thon, and I'm going to show what else Thon is known for in our guild. Show it up on the screen here. Hey, Thon, how's it going, and what have you been up to?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well.
Thank you for thanking me.
Thank you for having me. It's my honor. It's my privilege. So as you guys know, I was actually in France last week and had to get out of Dodge, and I'm now on a somewhat government-imposed 14-day quarantine, not because I have anything, but just as a precaution. So I've been gaming a lot, which has been great. So I've been doing a lot of GSF, and this past week hit a big achievement. I did 1,000, hit the 1,000 matches played.
Wow, that's impressive.
Ticker and got myself the Fleet Admiral title, which I'm now using for my Thrawn character, who I think might even be on the board.
Yep, he's right here.
He's in there somewhere. So that's what I've been up to this week. How about you, Max?
I have been focused on Conquest. We'll talk about it a little bit in the guild news too, but we're going after a planet. It's Galactic Conquest week, which means, or whatever, Galactic something, which means we get to a whole bunch of planets and we get to pick a planet, and our guild is going to try to win a planet, which gets guess it's a title. So I've been doing a ton of Conquest, and in my quest for Conquest, I was doing GSF already this week, doing PvP already this week. I haven't done GSF or PvP much in the past, say month or month and a half, and I'm a little out of practice, so I'm getting the adrenaline jitters. I haven't gotta ease back into it and calm it down before I'm gonna want to do a lot of it, because I get a little hyped up. But had some good matches. Had some wins. Wins count more than losses, and so that was going really well. And just having fun with it. Our guild is cooking along. I'll show you the totals when we get to the guild news. But before we talk about guild news, let's talk about news.
Now an Imperial News Network report.
First up in the news, the game update 6.1.1 Conquest changes continue to be tweaked on the PTS. In fact, there's a post up there which says even the state that they're at currently on the PTS is not where they want to leave it. They do plan on doing some additional tweaks as well. I believe, so you heard, I think 2 weeks ago, I had a little bit of a rant. I still think that this part of it in particular, these multiple tiers, the 10 to 49 bracket and the 50 to 70 bracket, are ridiculous, and they shouldn't have spent any time on that. I'm more convinced on that than ever, because the last 2 mandatory fun nights for the guild, I was bringing my 65 or my 62 Juggernaut, and after basically 90 minutes of play over 2 weeks, it's at 69 now. So it's going to be out of this bracket.
With a minimum of effort and time.
Minimum of effort and time. So if this is intended to incent me to play, okay, I already did that rant. Go find that podcast if you want to hear me rant about it. The parts that I do like are the things that they're continuing to tweak, and they're going to do more. The things like there's weekly objectives, and then when you complete the weekly objective, it's going to unlock an infinitely repeatable version of that objective, but it'll have lower amount of conquest points each time you complete it from there on out. That kind of thing, giving more objectives, weekly objectives that turn into repeatables, that kind of stuff I do like. So we'll continue to get on the PTS and check that out if you want to see more and provide input.
Yeah, so rewards will be calculated at the time you reach your goal. So I wonder what that means.
Oh, that's interesting. So what they said last time, which they had a lot of feedback about, was if I start at 69 and I finish the week at 71, I was still getting the 69 rewards.
Yes. Yeah.
Which upset people because the thing
because
you're not
less.
getting is the strategic resource matrix, which is
right. To make it more meaningful, they just give you less.
Right. So.
Oh, wait! I didn't want to get used to.
Are you? So what about Duxon?
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
I thought maybe you were gonna.
No.
Okay.
I was turning it. I said no. I'm gonna not rant. You can read.
Yeah. So there was
rewind.
also on the forums this week an update post about Master Mode Duxon, and it's worth reading the thread because there's a lot of people giving really good feedback with actual content in it, and not just I hate this, it's terrible, it's hurting my guild or whatever. And it's really good. I thought, like, modeling for how what useful feedback looks like. I mean, there's a few sort of posts in there of people that are just mad about something, but I mean, in general, I think they're getting really good feedback. So I hope they're happy with their feedback.
Right. I agree. It was teams that had been in there, had been doing it, and being observed by the dev team, provided continual feedback on the changes. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't like pages and pages of threads. So there's plenty of opportunity for more teams to get in there and provide some feedback. It's nice to see the master mode teams getting in there and helping out in that way, though. So I agree.
Yeah. It was a good read.
Also,
I recommend.
Yeah. Also up on the PTS are continuing updates to some classes and some class changes that you can get in there and try out and test out and provide feedback on. Bounty Hunter and Trooper class changes, Agent and Smuggler, and Sith Warrior Jedi Knight class changes. The feedback threads on these are longer and slightly less civil, but not terrible. It's fine. So people are providing feedback on this stuff, and some snide and snarky comments, which are perfectly fine. I like the somewhat snarky comments, like there's 0 changes in here on the Mercenary Commando side to any of the healing abilities, and they said, oh, we're going to make changes to healing too, and so there were some snarky comments about that, which is fine. Get in there, check this out, provide the feedback. I think some of the feedback continues to be valid. I think some of the feedback, you're never going to get perfect feedback, and you're never going to get everything you want in any sort of class balance update ever. People, half the people will think you're over-tuning the classes they don't like. The other half of the people will think that you're under-tuning the classes that they like, and never the twain shall meet. So it's never going to be perfect.
And class balance is always going to be a thing in a game that's a living game.
Right.
Because, I would just compare it to WoW Classic, where they don't have to worry at all about class balance, because all they did was just reproduce the way it was in, 2005.
Right.
And nobody's complaining about it because they knew what it was going to be, and
right.
And that's what it is. And so the devs for that game don't have to do any class balance.
Which is nice. Yeah, that's true. In fact, if they tried to do some class balance, and a couple of people have said, oh, why don't you, because now you've got this opportunity, why don't you do a little class balance? Then there's a whole, the sort of the design goal and the agreement from the whole community that wanted WoW Classic service at all was, no, we want it exactly how it was. Because we remember that. So we want it unbalanced. Oh, great. There you go. That's what you get.
So also this week, there's a possible bug in a tactical where it behaves differently for sages and sorks, which is,
So this Tempest of Rogue tactical, and I use this.
When I looked at the thread, though, it's basically one guy reporting it and then two other people saying, "Yeah, I see that too." So sure. I mean, maybe it's not. Yeah, the jury's out in my mind. Not. Like maybe it isn't really. But I remember other things in the past from actual patch notes and stuff where they've fixed things that weren't behaving the same way on both sides. So it just makes you wonder what's going on back there.
Right. Like, do they
do they have to go in manually and just change the ability names on everything?
Or do they
every time they change something?
Or do they rewrite the algorithm from scratch? They go to the Imperial code and they code it up, and then somebody else is going to the Republic code and coding it up over there, and then they hope that they work the same. Because it's best to rewrite the same code in multiple places. That's a coding best practice.
That's the best, yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know if that's the case, but as you suggest, it's not even confirmed that it's a bug necessarily. If it is a bug, BioWare, prepare for us to be unkind in our criticism of your of your QA and your coding techniques. There. No, all right.
We shall be unkind.
In Guild and Community News, as I said at the intro, we are doing Conquest. We're trying to become conquerors of Nar Shaddaa. We finished the evening so far at 3.967 million on Nar Shaddaa. Next up is Shadow Squad. You form Shadow Squad. They are at 3.1 million. We were sort of neck and neck and hot on their heels all day yesterday. We've pulled ahead a little bit today. I expect it's still going to be tight all weekend. So we're going to have to
and there might be someone who's just going to scream up at the too. So
we're going to have
We have our fingers crossed though.
Right. If you'd like to jump in and get a win off of Nar Shaddaa and come for the conquer and stay for the fun, let us know. I don't have a problem with adding people in. I'll probably have to G-kick some old characters. We're probably filling up because we added some more players, new players today even.
We can do that.
But we'll do that. Coming in, you can contribute your points and get you some Nar Shaddaa win, and you can come play with us. We had a really fun mandatory fun night on Tuesday where we did a bunch of random conquest things. Tried to get some champions and we couldn't. Our team went back tonight and got us some champion kills and got all those points for our ops team.
Oh, that's right, we did. I forgot about that.
And we did a bunch of things tonight. We got a lot of points tonight. Well, as we can see here from our leader for all conquest across the whole guild, you got this little top 5 leaderboard. Look up here, right at the top, number 1, Seema. 152,000.
That's because I'm too lazy to switch characters, and so I'm struggling to make conquest on all my other characters, but I'm like, I'll go on my merc.
Yeah. I wish. That makes me think, what if you got a conquest reward for every 50,000 points? So you could just play one character and do everything on one character, and every 50,000 points you got another reward. That would actually be
fantastic for me.
And you just stacked up those rewards. That would be great.
Yeah.
Hey, Thon, you are in here typically on our... Oh, actually, Seema, you do yours, and then I'll get Thon's opinion on both of these things, because what's the other guild news that we have, which was last week?
So we did just have our March Mega, which was a World Boss Hunt. But we do have a Mega coming up in April, which is going to be probably an Amazing Race Mega.
Right. We have talked about that in the past. We are mostly done. I've seen the planning team who's been going after the creation of that guild event. It's one of the best events I've participated in any MMO for player-made events. I really like it. So if you want to get in on that on Starforge, we'll get the dates. It's going to be sometime in the middle of April. Amazing race. You get a clue. You go to a location. You have to complete a challenge once you get to that location to get the next clue, to find the next location, to complete the next challenge, et cetera, et cetera. So it is quite awesome. We've already got some of the locations and clues and challenges laid out. We have some fun challenges that are some guild classics. So keep an eye out for that. Before we move on to our main segment, Thon, you got any comments on MFNs and the megas and stuff? Were you at the World Boss Hunt on Friday, Thon? I don't think you were.
I missed the World Boss hunt. I did do the Where in the Galaxy is San Diego, so I'll be interested to see.
Yeah, I remember.
For the amazing race, if there's a rules change that would hamper some of my ideas.
If you remember us talking about that a few weeks ago, we laid out the sort of a minimal set of rules. You can't. Well, I don't even know what we did. You couldn't quick travel. You couldn't quick travel.
That was it. No.
So one of the challenges in the SEMA San Diego stops was you had to basically kill a bunch of the random mobs on Balmora.
It was Balmora. Oh my gosh, you and your planets. I also want to tell everyone that, apparently only dweebs say Nar Shada. If you're a cool kid, you just call it Shada.
Shada. Really? NS?
Yes, because that's what you have in your notes. MFN Conquest Planet. Shada.
I thought that was more of like a Shada. Like a
See, if I'm saying it wrong,
it's like the singer, Shada.
Seema's going to be throwing some Shada at me. Anyway, back when I was talking about the player who gamed the system and was saying in general chat, I will pay 100,000 credits for a broken claw.
Those fangs were hard to come by. I just wouldn't get them.
That was Thon.
Because he's a member of the Tres Comas Club, he can afford expensive fangs.
But also, he finds the angle, right? Which leads us to what we're going to talk about now. But last thing, shout out to the chat room. Shout out to Jay Musselman, who just brought some guests and viewers in here. Just rated our channel. And everyone in there who has been helping us out getting the podcast kicked off. Okay, now we can talk about how to make 1 billion credits. Because yes, Thon finds those angles. 1 billion credits.
Wield your prosperity as a weapon.
Thon does wield his prosperity as a weapon. Thon is a multi-billionaire. And when
in real life too.
Nope.
I'm a billionaire. I have, I'm in the Tres Comas Club. I've done, I'd say 90% of my gathering of credits, and I've talked about this before, mostly in making things, and mostly what I've made is augments. Sell a bunch of those, sell the really expensive ones, sell them when the market is high, and I've made a lot of credits over time. That is not the way Thon makes credits. So that's what we're going to talk about now. So Thon, you told me in prep, a lot of it comes down to, in a nutshell, it's kind of hard to sell things, but because it's sort of small inside of there. I'm
shaking my head.
Sorry. In a nutshell, buy low, sell high. So tell me about that. Is that the deal? And what are you buying low and selling high for the most part?
Yeah, no, I mean, the risk of having it be super simple, that is pretty much what I've done. I sort of stumbled into it probably 3-4 years ago. So my very first tune was a biochem crafter, and so I was both gathering the biomats but just couldn't keep up, and so was looking on the GTN to buy them, and after doing that for a while, to just use for crafting, just for stuff that I was going to use to play, not to sell, kind of started getting a feel for what genetic anomalies or hallucinogenic compounds or whatever it was. And once I had amassed more than what I really needed to craft for personal stuff, it hit me. I was like, well, I could sell these. And after watching the biomats, quote, market for a while, kind of got a feel for, what was a good price and what wasn't a good price. So that's how I started. And then after probably a year of just literally doing the biomats, it hit me. I was like, well, it's more complicated because there's just more items, but I could probably do this with another category. So I think then I did scavenging, and then after that, just kind of broadened it to all mats. So for the most part, although I do a bunch of other stuff now, in the early days, I mean, I made millions and millions of credits just doing commodities trading. Just looking on this GTN and buying stuff at what I, after you watch it for a while, sort of knew was a good, a low price. And people, I mean, I guess you could call me a predatory person, because I am looking for, people who are listing something at what I know is, a lower than what it should be price. So I'll scoop it up. But yeah, that's pretty much.
That's, to me, that, first of all, that's not necessarily predatory, because that person has their reason. And maybe they don't want the risk of it coming back. They price it low, and you're willing to take the risk of it coming back to sell it at a higher price. So you're providing them a service.
In most cases, that's probably true. There's clearly some people who just absolutely didn't know what they were doing, and it was a mistake. And not gonna lie, I'll buy those too. But look, karma swings around, because I think I mislisted a stack of 50 decos that should have sold for about 100,000 a piece, and I sold them for 100,000 total for the whole stack of 50. So karma definitely comes around.
Yeah. But before we leave that early part of when you were just doing bioanalysis mats, even then, did you start buying them and flipping them, or were you still just running around, harvesting them?
Once I had sort of more than what I really needed just for my own personal use, I started flipping them. And I pretty early on, just because time in real life is super limited, I gave up pretty quickly on getting
harvesting
stuff on harvesting and nodes. Now I will run all my comps. I mean, that's probably something else that I try to be disciplined about, although that's psycho because this is a game. But I do try to, like, if I log onto a tune, even if it's just to like check for gear or whatever, I try to remember not to log off without sending all the comps out on some kind of a gathering or crafting or whatever mission, because
Have you raised all your comps to 50 influence, or do you go ahead and run them on low influence companions?
In the early days, I definitely was running them on low influence. Once I amassed some credit wealth, I started splurging. And back in the day, did it the old-fashioned way through just a whole ton of comp gifts. Now I'm candidly just lazy, and so
you buy I
buy the thing, which is not a bad deal. I mean, it's
3 dark projects and 4 million
credits.
4 million.
So I've definitely done that. Any tune where I have it's a crafter, I've got 8 level 50 comps. Any tune that I actually play with, I'll have at least one level 50 comp, just as sort of their person they run around with.
Now your point about real life time being precious, I agree, and this is part of the reason that I've stuck with augments, because I can be really efficient about it, and I'm lazy, and I can make a bunch of credits off of that and don't spend a lot of time doing it. How much time, like when you're in a credit making mood, say for the week, how many times a day do you log in? How many times a week do you log in? How much time are you spending when you log in to look for materials and to post and repost and all that? So time wise.
Yeah. So I typically log in just to play every day. and some of it's, I mean, some days I'm in the mood to do the GTN thing, and then other days I'm like, yeah, just not in the mood for that. I actually want to run something or play. I'll try to sort of scouring the GTN while I'm on a tune that's like in a queue for, PvP or something. So I'm sort of waiting, like if I'm doing GSF, I'm trying to get the weekly GSF on a tune, I'll queue that up, and while I'm waiting for a pop, I'll sit there and scour the GTN or list stuff on that tune. And then when he's kind of done, if the pops happen quickly and I finish the weekly and I'm ready to move on to another tune, I'll go switch to somebody else. I've kind of segregated. So I've got one tune that sells, just because I can't hold everything on one tune. I got one tune. He's the guy who sells all my comp decorations and space items. I've got one guy who sells all the scavenging mats. And I've got one guy who's sort of he's the trash man. I mean, because you just amass a bunch of crap, right? I mean, like,
what do you mean by comp decoration?
I'm sorry, what did I say? Comp decorations, gifts, companion gifts. Sorry, the gifts,
like the gold ones.
Yeah,
I was going to say, how could you possibly be on top of what decos should cost?
Yeah, so decos, I know what they don't cost. I mean, if I see somebody list something for something ridiculously low, like I did, I'll snap that up. But part of the reason I focused on commodities, well, A, I just stumbled into it, but B, there's so much of it listed on the GTN that you really do, you're able, or at least I feel like I'm able to get a feel for what the quote real fair market, price is versus, a lot of the, like, I have never I probably bought one just to open it, but I've never sold like a hyper crate or anything like that because there's few of them out there, and I have absolutely no idea. Like if somebody listed or sort of gear, or there's just not that many sort of comps, comparable listings out there over time for me to figure out what's a good price and what's not a good price. So like if I see somebody listing the Darth Scion, armor. Well, actually, that's I actually do know what that's supposed to cost. Pick some item that I'm not familiar with, and I see it on there, and it's listed for like 2 million credits, but there's just one of them. Or there's one, and then there's another one listed for 5 million. Like, I don't know. Is the 5 million the right price? Is the 2 million under? Are they both crazy? So I've tried a few of those and gotten burned, and so I tend to stick with stuff that's, large numbers of listings and repeatable, so you can kind of figure out, what the right price is.
Well, the other thing too about mats is a lot of them sell every day,
right?
Whereas the high ticket items, a way smaller number of them sell every day. So you have
that velocity. Yeah, I completely agree, and that's a reason I used to sell stims. And that again has some velocity and some liquidity to the market.
It used
augments, to. Yeah, it used to. Augments sell. If those big ticket items, you can potentially turn a relatively good profit, but you often have to wait a long time. And I completely agree with knowing your market. If you're going to be buying low, selling high, you need to know your market, and it helps to specialize the way you did to start, and then expand once you get some traction. If you specialize, so this is a tip for everybody out there, specialize in a particular area, you'll get a feel relatively quick for what's a good price, what's not a good price, what's a good margin, what can I buy to flip, and what won't I buy. Which brings me to another time kind of question. Selling and buying materials to make augments and selling of augments has a weekly cycle associated with it. Do you, when you're doing the things that you're doing, especially around, say, the commodities market, are you buying things on Mondays and then selling them on Thursdays? Is there a weekly cycle that you're connected to, or is it less of that because it's less driven by what's going on with the resets of the weekly for operations?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. I mean, I guess there is some stuff that tends to sell better, or the price creeps up like over the weekend. Maybe just because there's more players, on, and so they're snapping up the materials, and so there's just less supply. But no particular pattern that I'm aiming for. I will say, whenever it's a crafting conquest week, the mats prices definitely spike because people want those to build, to craft, the stuff to get even the low level. In fact, even this week right now, so the lowest level, the level 1 scavenging mat, the Desh or the Silica, typically those are hovering around, sub 1,000, each. Right now they're around 1,500 in a heavy crafting week. Those can go above 2 because those are super fast. If you craft that lowest level augment or assembly component, it takes if you got a level 50 comp, it takes 5 seconds. So you can just sit there and spin those through to get the,
and then you can deconstruct them and get
exactly
some percentage of the mats back and do it again.
A lot of the big guilds will buy those low level mats just because they're cranking through. They're just crafting mania.
Sure.
During those weeks.
Sure. Yeah. Just to close out on that, the weekly timing for augments, a lot of that's driven by strategic resource matrix. And because everybody gets their strategic resource matrix on Tuesdays, the market gets flooded. There's extra supply, so the price tends to go down. And then, so that's a good time to buy them. And then you can make the augments, and you sell the augments when the players get online to do operations. And so there's the sell part that way. Sorry, Seema, you're.
Well, I was just going to say, the idea of starting with, one small area like just bioanalysis. When you were doing that, did you ever log in and you were in the mood to do GTN stuff, but you looked on the GTN and there weren't any that were too low priced?
Oh yeah, all the time. In fact, yeah. Sorry.
It just feels like that would be disappointing. Then you'd be like, oh, I wanted to shop.
Yeah, I wanted to shop, but that's it. Once you have enough mats, that might also, it might not be a buying time, but that might be a good selling time. So I might be listing stuff instead of buying stuff.
Good point.
Depending on where the price is.
So that's a really nice, concise way to start out if you haven't really been doing anything to make credits other than, just playing the game, is to just pick something small Yeah. How about the assembly components themselves? Do you ever sell those?
I used to. So those used to be a pretty good deal. People would list them for just super low because they thought they were useless. They'd be selling them for 100 a piece, and I could buy them and relist them and sell them for 2,000 or 3,000 a piece. So, and that's probably none. These days my listings and prices are a little bit bigger. That's partially because the preferred cap has increased, which I know we'll get to. But a lot of sales I'm making 20,000, 50,000, under 100,000 in credits per sale. But you do that enough times, and it starts to adds up. So it's not sexy. If somebody mislists 40 augment or assembly component, twos, and I know I can make 50,000 credits just by buying them and relisting them right away, I'll do it. Now, it's not a ton of credits, but you do that 100 times, and that starts to add up.
Interesting.
And there's credits. The other thing that just occurred to me, there's credits lying around the game all over the place. For example, with all of the deconstructing that we're doing now, I've got just huge stacks of the Jawa junk, the green and the blue and the purple.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if you go to the Jawa vendor, you can buy mats, right? The crafting mats for those. Sometimes I'm doing that just to fill a gap in what I need for my own crafting. But right now, if you had 1,000 of the green Jawa junk, you could go buy 1,000 of that level 1 scavenging mat, the Desh, and those are selling for 1,500 a piece on the GTN. So what's the math there? 1,000 of those times 1,500 a piece. It's $100K right there, right?
Do you have
brilliant?
Do you have a spreadsheet? How do you track? I
spitball it.
Really?
I've thought about doing a spreadsheet, and then I'm like, that's going to be too much work. So I'm
I don't think I could do it without a spreadsheet like that. What you just said right there. You could take those green Jawa junk, and I was just trying to remember how many I had in my legacy storage. And I think I have. So
I have a couple of stacks, and a stack is 9999.
Right. I'm over 40,000 of the green Jawa junk. Because I have four stacks. Yeah, I don't spend them because I haven't put a spreadsheet together, which would be, yeah, I could get with the dash and sell it for 1,500, but is that the best ratio? Now, is that the right thing to sell to get, the most credits per Jawa junk, per green Jawa junk item?
Today it is, or at least I'll say that yesterday it was. And part of the reason I don't do the spreadsheet is exactly that. It's just so volatile that, like, on any given day, dash is sort of would be the best bang for the buck for a green Jawa junk today. 2 weeks ago, one thing, and I've never understood why, it's the Hemo. What is it? It's the level 8 diplomacy mat, the blue one, the prototype. Those things sell like mad for at least 5,000 a piece. And so if you've got a bunch of blue Jawa mats, I just tanked my. I guess I won't be doing this now because everybody
all 5 people listening.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean those sell regularly and they don't stay around very long. I've never figured out what somebody's actually using those to craft, but they're using them for something because those go pretty quickly. So all that. Yeah.
I mean, I totally relate to what Max is saying, but there's also something to be said for actually doing it versus not doing it.
Right.
And we were kind of talking about, BC has been telling us forever to sell the little crafting node thing, decos that you get every week from Conquest. And I tried it, and it was just too much work for me because the act of shift click to see what everyone else is charging for them, and then figuring out what's going to be 1 credit less, and then posting them all, and because there's like 18 different types, right?
Yeah, that's and the price on those has definitely decreased. I guess maybe just because everybody's doing Conquest has become a little easier, so everybody's getting that.
But my thing is then Mei Long said, well, he just puts them up for 18K. That's just what he does, 18K all the time.
Depending on which one it is, I'll buy that.
Well, more power to you because. He said he made like a couple.
I mean, to your point,
he made
Seema,
a couple million credits.
He made a couple million.
Doing that.
Thon bought and resold and made a couple million margin.
Right.
And you and
Meanwhile,
I made 0.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly my point. Right. Max, you're right there. It's like I just click on them and add them to my. I have a million of each kind.
Well, I just put them in the guild bank, and BC resells them and adds it to our guild.
Because BC,
which is fine.
Who's selling the bones? Who's selling the bones that I put in the guild bank?
I delete those.
They're never there.
the master of putting bones.
He probably doesn't know. We should tell him not to sell them.
Here's my spreadsheet, and this is just a spreadsheet just for making the 7 possible augments at just the highest tier. So crafting right now is a little bit crazy in trying to put together a spreadsheet that just tracks what it would cost and what the profit is for just those 7 items. All of this stuff on the left, all of these materials go into crafting, these 7 items.
You really have to do a spreadsheet for augments if you want to know whether it's going to make.
If you want to know.
But I can see what Thon's doing. You could do by the seat of your pants. I mean, you would make mistakes, but
so like right now,
still better than not doing.
Yeah, right. So premium woven syntax. There's a guy he's listed. It's just one of them, but he's only listed it for 120 credits. The real market price of that right now should be more like 2,600, 2,700. So I'm gonna buy that one woven syntax.
Well, yeah. I guess, and that's the key. If you know, and because you've focused on the market and because you've focused on commodities in particular, you just know, and then it gets a lot easier. If you could just, while
But
you're
you have
waiting
to
in
be
a
willing
queue.
to click too, because you just bought one of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
So you're
I
gonna
know
make like a couple thousand
2,000
credits.
credits off of that. Yep. At some point in the future. But yeah, it's
But,
Like I didn't even want to click on the PTS on Odessin, the terminal that gives you money. I'm like, I'm tired of clicking.
I've done with clicking. No, it's my methodology. I mean, it's definitely a sort of slow and steady wins
I
the
like
race.
it though. I like because it has like a built-in starting point for someone who wants to start.
yeah.
I thought you'd have to like learn the whole market and spend hours
Right.
studying it.
That's what
sort
I was
of
afraid of.
one thing, one category, and just sort of start there. And really, you couldn't, even if you wanted to sort of do all of it. I mean, it does take credits to make credits, and so like when I first started, I would not have been in a position to buy up all of the gold companion gifts that somebody mislisted, just because that costs a lot of money. I'm going to make even more when I sell them later, but
Right.
so starting small makes sense for a bunch of reasons.
Now,
I have thinking about crafting, so I don't know. We may talk about crafting another time. I do some crafting now. I was
you said doo-doo.
I was a do bottom. I did start in crafting by being a reseller. So like I would wait for, I'd look for like relics. I think is where I started. So I wouldn't actually craft them myself. I just kind of got a feel for what the market price was, and then waited for somebody to list them too low, and then snap them up. And actually, the guy messaged me once because he was listing his consistently 25% of what they should be. So I would just happily buy them all up and list them. And he finally mails me. He's like, "Stop buying my stuff and reselling it." I'm like, "Well, dude, like,
what do you mean?
Why?
Then start. I'm helping you. Like,
if you want to sell it for that price, I'm buying everything you want to sell
Like,
at the price that you want to sell it at. You should be thanking me.
Yeah.
I remember thinking,
I'm the retailer.
like in 2004, 2005, when I first started playing MMOs, I remember thinking, "Oh, they're just buying my stuff to resell it. I'm incensed." And then I thought, "Wait a minute, no, I'm not. I'm making money, and they're making money."
Right.
Yeah, and I think I've told you guys this before. There's one guy who was doing stuff at like 5 credits a piece, stacks of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of mats. And as fast as I was buying him, he just kept listing more. And finally, I'm like, does this guy not know what he's doing? So I messaged him in game. I'm like, dude, like, I'll keep buying him, but like, do you know how this works, right? Like, I want to make sure he wasn't making a mistake. And he messaged back and he's like, yeah, thanks. It's like, okay, so
game on.
Yeah, all right then, keep him coming. So I actually friended that guy, and so whenever he shows up in game now, I go to the GTN because there's a good chance he's offloading stuff for cheap.
Well, there's a little pro tip. If you're buying commonly from a particular lister, friend them, and you'll see when they get online and they start listing stuff.
Jump on. Yep.
Hey, Seema, I was looking in my list, and this gets back to our previous point. Letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. Waiting until I know the exact right price to sell something before I sell it. Burns me in like this situation. Superior resource matrix. I don't know what these ever sold for in the game, but I have 900 of them now, and now they're worthless.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have 300 solid resource matrix.
Right, and I have legendary embers. I don't sell them because I think, I'll make something.
Yeah.
Soon those will be worthless, right?
Right. Next expansion.
I don't know how. Yeah, next expansion. Right?
Next expansion, they will be worthless, and then you and I will have a stack of 900 each, and Thon will have 5 billion instead of 3 billion credits. Right. Okay, one other thing. So you talked about buying things low, buying when people are listing a bunch of stuff and then reselling it, buying a bunch of the gold items that were listed too low, the gold items, and then selling them. The one thing that I thought that people in MMOs did to make the most credits and that you would have to do, and I never really wanted to get into, was cornering a market. Do you corner markets, and how does that work for you? And explain that to anyone who sort of doesn't understand cornering a market.
Yeah, so cornering the market means, I'm not an economist, but so it basically you control the entire supply, which means you can then sort of set the price. I've done that on occasion, mostly with sub-level. I guess they're all sub-level 50. The purple relics, so like the Wind Crystal relics, Chrysophas, Ice Dragon. And again, that started by.
I don't recognize any of those names.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Wow.
And so that is probably what got me into crafting, because then I'm like, oh well, I could actually make these and sell those. But so even if somebody's selling something, I guess it's in the corner of the market, even if somebody's selling something a little bit higher than what I think it should be, I may, if there's not a ton of them, sometimes I'll buy it just to like get it off the board out there. So usually what I'm listing like a tick below whoever the next guy is, who's already out there. Sometimes, even if I'm not going to make like a ton of profit, like once you factor in the GTN cut, which I think is it still 6%? I
Yes.
mentally just do it. I mentally just do it as 10, just because that math is easier.
But it is 6%, and that's actually
6%.
another pro tip as well for people. When you sell something on the GTN, say it's, you're selling something for 100 credits, the GTN takes 6% of your sale and gives you then back the rest. So you get 94 credits back. The people that, I've seen people like list at the same price as the vendor price. I could vendor this item for 100 credits, so they list it on the GTN for 100 credits. They're getting less back than they would get just vendoring the thing. The other thing is, if you're going to buy low, sell high, your margin has to include that cut, so that like you're saying, I think is a good rule of thumb. Either know it's 6% and know what you're doing, or take it as 10%. You said you've got a margin target that you're typically going after, and I think what were you saying? Something it's got to typically
like 20. Yeah, typically 20%. But if I'm investing a bunch of credits in a particular mat or thing, sort of a 20% return on investment is what I'm mentally looking for. And again, I make exceptions for that. If I'm trying to corner the market on a particular item, like I'll buy stuff knowing that I'm not going to make a 20% return on that particular one, but I'd rather just have that one off the listing so that my stuff's the only stuff that's out there.
Sure. Okay. Then it's really hard to corner the market for real in this kind of game, because you can't really control the supply.
Especially for mats. There's just too many variables.
Yeah. The only time I've done it really is like with like I said, the purple relics, and then I hesitate to say it, but the space stuff, that stuff sells like hotcakes. Although that changes, because like
the classic
the higher
space
levels,
mission.
Yeah, the old space on rails, like the little gear things you could buy to put around your ship. Like the armor, the beam charger, the engines, or whatever.
Armech ship armor, Sinar Systems beam charger. I've got my little ship outfitted here on this Marauder. I don't even know. I used to do this, and I used to level up this way back in the day. I haven't done it in years, so didn't know anybody was still doing it.
That stuff, those are like the Armech is selling for a couple $100,000 a piece right now.
Okay.
So
nice.
I've made a ton of credit.
The schematics for those used to be difficult to get as well. Yep. So the schematics would sell for a lot. And
what I'm hearing with that example is don't try and figure out whether or not somebody would buy something. Just try it.
Yeah.
Test the market.
Or sort of, watch, search
the
GTN.
market.
Yeah, search the GTN every day. It's kind of like you guys do eBay, right? I mean, it's kind of like if I'm looking for something on eBay, if it's a weird kind of random thing, or particularly if I want to sell something, which I don't do a ton, you could look at the past, completed listings. Like, what has this particular whatever thing, sold for in listings that have been completed over the past like 90 days? Like, you could do that on eBay, and it's the same kind of thing here. It's like, well, what is this stuff seeming like it's going for, and then you get a little more comfortable with it. I
could totally see that. I've heard, and I haven't checked in a long time now, but I've heard dyes that you can craft and make and buy and resell tend to be okay sometimes. Have you done dies?
I've tried some of those, and they were okay, but it seemed like a lot of effort, and then I just never made a ton of money with those. The cartel dies go for a fortune.
Wait, you didn't make 2,000 credits?
Yeah, by that point I was, and I have become a little more picky, just because time, right? It's like, well, if I'm going to spend time on something, I'd rather spend time on something that I can make,
So
2 million
crafting
credits with.
something, you need a bigger margin than if you were just clicking at the GTN on stuff.
Typically, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. You told me one tip for what you sell and what you price it at, to align it with preferred players. Why don't you tell everybody that one?
Yeah.
Just to
So, and that's gotten a little easier now that the preferred player credit cap is $1 million. But like back in the day, for forever, it was like 350, right? 350,000 credits. So, there's a ton of preferred players out there, and so even if on a stack of 100 whatevers, genetic anomaly, even if I could have listed that stack of 100 for 400,000 credits, well, that just priced it above where any preferred player could buy it, right? So I will chop my stack down so that no individual listing, at least on the commodity stuff, is higher than the preferred cap. So for the longest time, no single listing of a stack of mats would exceed 350,000 credits, because if it did, no preferred player could buy it. That's gotten a lot easier now with $1 million, the credit cap being $1 million for preferreds.
For the commodities market, that makes me think though, for the augment market,
they're out. They can't buy it. Yeah,
right.
So there is no preferred player market for single items that have a value of greater than $1 million, because they physically can't purchase them. I guess nothing's physical. It's a game, but yeah. And one other thing I do in listing, and I have absolutely no idea if this makes any difference or not, but I typically price my stuff sort of blue light special, so it always ends in sevens. So like if the real market price of something is like 200,000 credits, I'll list it for like 199, like 777. So it just looks
really?
It just looks like a really good deal. Yeah, virtually every one of my listing ends just sevens. Or
nice.
If somebody else, and there's people who've started doing that also. So if the next lowest thing or the lowest thing out there ends in sevens, then I'll my listing will end in a bunch of like 3s or 2s, just so it looks it just looks more appealing. It looks lower, right? It's on sale.
Yeah, I used to do that. I used to like when I could, if it was like 3.1 million, and I'd make it pi.
Yep.
3.141599.
Yes, I would go
just to amuse myself. I mean, no one else knows what's going on,
Yep.
but I'd pick clever numbers that I was satisfied with.
Yeah, sometimes I do just get lazy and I'll just button mash. It's like, as long as the first 3 digits are correct, I'm like, whatever the last 3. Like, just.
Excellent. Well, I don't know. This stuff's really interesting to me. It's a direction, as I said, that I don't go. And I thought there was a lot more gaming of the system that you'd have to do rather than just keep an eye out, buy low, sell high. That's a good lesson for everyone out there that wants to do it. And as you said, SEMA in particular, picking a niche and getting experience from there and expanding from there, it's really useful, because within your niche, you'll make a fair number of credits, and then if you expand out, maybe you'll make even a lot more. But once you start knowing your niche, it becomes really fast and easy to take a quick, you're in a queue or you're waiting for ops to form up. You take a quick glance at the GTN. Oh, there's a couple of cheap things on there. I'll just buy those real quick. And you're sort of doing it in spare time when you would have been sitting around driving your speeder in a circle anyway.
Yep, exactly.
So it's
and then like if I'm in an op, I'll try to remember to have my comps, out running gathering missions the whole time, because you can amass over, right? If you're in an op for an hour and a half, you can amass, a couple of hundred of items, and then.
Can you pretty much assume that the cost of doing crew missions is going to be cheaper than whatever you can sell?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Particularly for certainly for the like, well, the wealthy ones for sure, but for the higher ones, absolutely. Even the lower ones, one of those missions costs 3,000, 4,000 credits to run.
Hey, hold up for just a sec. Yes,
Yeah.
the stream did crash. Oh crap! It's
Oh.
gonna cause me a big headache. Tomorrow. One sec. OBS crashed. I'm gonna have to edit up the video.
I was wondering,
Not terrible,
like
but
the chat room was being so quiet, and then I tried to refresh, and nothing happened. But normally the stream crashing doesn't prevent the chat room.
no, they should have yelled at me, and the chat room should have been yelling at me.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. So I tend, when I get in the mood to make credits, I go through cycles. Part of my problem is as sort of overseeing a lot of what's going on, a lot of the games in AIE, I will get into making credits or gold or gil or ISK or whatever, and sometimes it rotates. If I step away and am not making credits, and sometimes I just don't want to do it at all, and I'll go, weeks will go by when
Fishing.
I just don't want to do anything. I want to play or go after achievements or something. Do you ever get into lulls and cycles like that where you just sort of let it go for a few weeks or a month? Or are you, like, say over the course of the past year, are you pretty just like every week you got something going on? Where do you fall as far as that goes?
I've probably never let it go a whole week. And now it's a thing, right? I mean, like once I got 1 billion, I'm like, well, now I want 2, and now I want 3.
Yes,
I'm
right.
As we sit
I
here,
totally get that.
sitting on probably 3.4 billion. So now my goal is to get to 4.2, right, which is that's still the overall like legacy cap, right? They stop you.
I don't know.
I think so. We'll find out.
don't
We're gonna
know.
find out.
Really?
But also
that's a legacy cap? I thought that was just a cap on a single character.
I thought it was they're not a cap.
No, I don't think.
Oh, no.
I don't think there's a.
Really?
I think
All right.
that's just a single character because it's like an unsigned int or a signed integer that.
Yeah, but you can put it in your cargo banks. It'd have to be a
Well, but I don't think you can put more than 4.1 or whatever in your legacy
Oh, okay.
bank.
In the legacy
Okay.
bank.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think you can put more than that in any
But you
one
can have
place.
more.
But you can have more, spread out.
I'm with this. You could put 4.2 billion in your legacy bank and then just be
Another 4 billion on your,
4
in your
billion on
bank,
something
4
too.
billion on your main character, 4 billion on
I
every
gotcha.
alt. So
But you wouldn't be able to withdraw it if you had 1 credit on your.
right. So what you need is 4 billion on every one of your characters, Thon.
Yeah, that's once I hit when I get my legacy card 4.2. And I don't know. We'll see if the bug strikes me. I mean, probably about 8 months ago, I went on a huge buying splurge. I'm like, I'm going to acquire everything in the game.
Wait, you can't.
And that
No, if
adds
you
up
put-
quick.
If you have the max in your legacy guild, legacy cargoes, you won't be able to withdraw any of it.
No, you can. No, you can take whatever you want out of there onto a character. It can't be. You could take half of it out because my character's only got 100,000 credits on it.
Gotcha. You just can't
Right?
have 4.2 billion.
You can't go
credits
over
in
that
any
in
one place
any
at
one
any time.
place. So you couldn't put any more in, but you could take half of it out, or whatever you want
even
out to
though
your own character.
I thought it would count for that character if you're standing.
No, I think it's like it's mostly a problem with
because if
the
it doesn't,
counter.
that means you can have more.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can have 4 billion times the number of characters you have plus 1.
No. What I'm saying is, if you can have 4.2 in your bank and 4.2 in your pocket, that means you can have more than 4.2 on that character because you have 8.4.
You can't hold it at the same time, but I could spend the 4.2 that's in my pocket and then pull out another 4.2 and then go spend that if I wanted to.
Legacy storage is its own bucket.
Yeah.
The legacy bank is its own bucket. So each character has a bucket, and the legacy bank is the extra bucket.
And no bucket can have more than 4.2 at a time.
Yeah.
Then
right.
why can't like a free to play put, 4.2 bit by bit into their cargo hold?
I think they have a limit on what they can put in their. They have a limit on what they can put in their legacy storage, and they have a limit on what they can have on their character, and then that goes into escrow. So
way back when I first started playing and I was preferred, my workaround, I would hold credits in the mail. Like I would just mail them to myself and just, and then I lived in perpetual fear that I would like forget to go check the mail and
and it would,
burn up all these credits.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So as we're wrapping it up here, a couple things you were talking about that you don't do and you would, and or you've gotten burned on, big ticket items in particular. You said you tried a little bit of that, but you sort of stepped away from it. How did that work out? And like what was a big ticket item that you were trying to go after?
So there was a bunch, and I'm still sitting on a ton of this stuff today. So like Darth Malak gear, Cassius Fett gear, like a bunch of gear sets that used to sell, like each individual piece was selling for like $1 million, between 500,000 and 2 million credits a piece. And then probably 3 years ago maybe, I guess they just put a bunch of that stuff on the cartel market for cheap because the prices just dropped. I mean, so I bought like the Mark Aragnos set. It's the one with the big, like the horns. It's the hat, right? Like that thing used to sell for 10 million credits. So I made a lot of money selling at that, but I also then bought up a ton. People listing them at 5 million credits.
Yeah.
And so I bought a ton that they don't move real fast. Well, when the market on those tanked, I'm still sitting on a bunch, and now they're only selling for like $1 million or $2 million. So I've definitely lost money on some investments, but again, that was probably my first foray into something that there weren't a ton of them out there. They're high dollar. It's not super repeatable the way the mats are. And I'm probably not doing that again. Probably the biggest missed opportunity out there ever in the game for anybody is was it this expansion? Those IOCast recombinators. It's like the purple.
Yeah.
Purple. So you used to be able to buy those with your command. Remember your command tokens or whatever?
Right.
It's like, what do I do with these? So you could buy those. And there was like an exploit where you could sell it right back to the vendor. I never did that, but you could sell them on the GTN, and they would sell for like 5,000, maybe on a good day, 10 to 15,000 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
Those are now worth 350,000 a piece because they are used in. It's not augments. What is it? Is it the Dark Project?
It's augments, but it's the previous tier.
Okay, yeah. So, and you can't buy them off the vendor anymore.
380.
You can, but they're 200.
Oh, right, yeah.
Or something like that.
So, I had a bazillion command tokens before we rolled into 6.0, and I'm kicking. I'd be at 4 billion if I'd bought nothing but ICAF recombinators and sold those. I'd be in pretty good shape.
Right.
The problem with that though is, just like we were talking about before, don't hoard the stuff from your X pack because they'll be useless in the next X pack. But these just happen not to be useless.
Yeah, these happen exactly.
Yeah,
and it evolves. Like, so how there's the goofy for the biochem, the armor or infantry kits. Mm-hmm. There's one of them where the level. It's like it uses the level 3, 5, and 7 mats, but it also uses the super expensive mats.
Yeah.
So nobody wants to craft infantry kits that way. So those level 3, 5, and 7 biomats are just tanked.
Right.
The price on those is dropped to the bottom.
Right. Yeah, on the just to close that on the big ticket items, I've collected various ones over time. Not even trying to buy low, sell high, but whatever. I've acquired some things, and those big ticket expensive items, like here, I was just looking at the market and the Revan Hollow statue. Revan Hollow statue, that's a big ticket item, and it's currently there's 5 of them on the market for 42 to 45 million. The problem is I've tried to sell even some of these kinds of things that I've just had, and they just don't sell very, very often. This is the kind of thing you have to sort of like list for weeks.
It's not for the faint of heart.
And keep relisting and hopefully
and
you eventually
takes
sell.
In that situation too is for one of those 5 to cancel theirs and undercut yours. And so that one person that's going to log in on Thursday at 3 p.m. that may want to buy that, they're going to buy theirs and not yours unless you're willing to undercut over and over again.
And keep on top of it over and over again for weeks. Or BioWare says, hey, GTN or Cartel Market sale next week.
Right.
Revan Hollow statues
that
for 100 Cartel
happen,
coins. And that has happened.
Yeah,
and
that's exactly what happened with most of my gear sets. Although, just as we were talking, I did just buy a Darth Science pauldron. Somebody's got that listed for $1 million, but I'm pretty sure I could sell that for 2. So we'll see.
There you go. All right. Well, we've been going for a while here. If you were listening live, we know the stream drop there in the middle. It'll all be fixed up in YouTube. Certainly want to say thank you very much, Thon. I learned both in prepping for this and in talking to you as we've gone along. I've learned a lot about some misconceptions I had, especially for the sort of buy low, sell high commodities trading market. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I thought this was fascinating. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
All right, with that, we'll take our EPC 331 droid and kick it out in airlock to broadcast this podcast to everybody out there. Please keep up with us on Twitter at MaxTheGray and at AIESEMA. And if you want to come jump in our guild and play with people like Thon who know what they're doing in various aspects of the game. And Thon, if you ever want to run Master Mode Flashpoints, Thon's
sweet.
Because the other thing that Thon does
Thon
is...
I thought you were offering to. I thought you were saying I'll run them with you. Oh, never mind.
No.
No.
Achievements. Thon is also an achievement master. Maybe that's a topic for another time. But you can check us out at aie-guild.org. We're on Starforge. We have a guild on the Republic side and on the Imperial side. Our guild Discord is at aie-guild.org. You can find it at the guild resources right there at the top. Jump in Discord. We added new characters, new players, new to AIE today. I was just talking to a new one. Happy to do that anytime. That's why we're here. Come play with us. We've got a lot of fun things going on, including hopefully winning Nar Shaddaa this week. So we'll see how that goes. And we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.